Let me tell you the story of how I became a hero while literally being a goblin. Now it all started with me spawning in on the beach. I hadn't yet reached my final green goblinoid form, so I was just stuck as a regular old human. Now just like anyone starting off on a server, I went to go do a note run, which is where you collect a bunch of these notes and then you get a decent amount of XP. And would you know it, some cocksucker had blocked these off. Now I've seen this before, usually people block them off so other people can't get a proper start on the server so they can have an advantage, but this was different. See, the servers I was playing on wipe every 30 days, and what these guys had done is as soon as the server wiped, they just hopped on, built over the note, hopped off, and haven't been back since. And I don't mean like the area that they blocked off the notes, I mean the server entirely. Some men literally do just want to watch the world burn. And it was at this point that I was given purpose. You see, if there's people out there whose only desire is to cause pain and suffering, there needs to be someone who does the exact opposite to balance things out. So I would do my best to be a hero. But I mean, currently as it stands, I'm just a fucking homeless guy on the beach. I need to head inland, find a decent base spot, boss up a little bit before I can start having these hero fantasies. Now before long, I arrived at a nice spot and started farming to set up shop. Oh, and they had a baby. Okay, murdering a baby animal and skinning it is not necessarily super heroic, but what are you gonna do? With the local fauna and flora now thoroughly massacred, I had everything I needed for a base. Heading a little bit into the forest, I started building. Now some of you might recognize this as the same base as in the guerrilla warfare video. Reusing a hidden base spot from a video with like 2 million views is not my brightest moment, and even at the time I realized this, but I like the spot. And I'm nothing if not a creature of habit. And with my newfound facilities, I was able to craft some metal tools, weapons, and armor. And now I assumed my final and most powerful form by equipping the goblin skin. Haha, fuck yeah! Now a lot of people don't know about this, but you can just kind of use custom player-made cosmetics on any server. Now a lot of these cosmetics are clearly just people's fetishes, and it's a mod made with one hand, if you catch my meaning. But hopefully this goblin cosmetic isn't one of those. Shout out to my boy Jimmy, actually, who made it. Now with the disgusting green bulbous gut now equipped, I headed out to tame a Thylo. Searching through the redwoods, I found one relatively quickly, built a trap, and lured him in. What's up, little buddy? Now, a Thylo would be the perfect tame. Fast, strong, and able to climb up ledges, and on top of that, this might be a bug, and if it is, wildcard, please don't fix it. Every time you jump with them, they build up some speed from their previous jump, so you can just like build absurd levels of momentum. On a good flat patch of ground, I could enter like fucking Mach 2 on this thing. I mean, the camera has trouble keeping pace. Using this newfound speed, I gathered up a bunch of materials for C4, tamed an Argentavis, and went to go do my first good act on the server. Remove the structures blocking the notes. Now it's actually usable. Let me go and grab the note. Isn't that awesome when you can just grab things and there's no guy like cock blocking you? With the first one cleared, the next note was made out of wood, so I could simply use my RG to break it. Hello? Hi there. Hi.
Okay, what?
Coming out of the bush like some sort of curious caveman, this guy was greatly taken back by my appearance at first. But once he realized I was just clearing up the notes, he appreciated that because he was genuinely trying to do a note run himself. So with this done, I hopped back on the Thyla and started looking around to see what else I could do. What the fuck? I'd come across some tribe's base, and they had fucking spotlights out front like this was Alcatraz or some shit. Oh my god. Okay, I'm dead. Breaking free from his grasp, I was now hurtling towards the ground. I had to time my parachute perfectly. For the crime of coming near their base, these guys had hopped on a wyvern, tried to drag me into their turrets, and killed my Thylo when it was defenseless. Slinking off into the woods and returning to my base now on foot, I stashed away my gear, took only a spyglass, and went to take a look at these guys. And what I saw was bad for everybody on the server. Not only were these guys kind of just assholes, they were rich assholes. Their base was built high up on a rock and was completely unassailable. Worse than that, these guys had access to tech. Basically, they're wearing a fucking Iron Man suit. The helmet gives them basically thermal vision, the chest piece lets them fly, the leggings give them infinite weight, the boots prevent fall damage, and their fists can fucking break structures. So needless to say, in a fight, these guys would push my shit in instantly. But you see, that's not to say that all is lost. When it comes to rat strats, I'm the best around. So the plan is for me to waste these guys' time and get on their nerves so they focus more on fucking me over and less on the rest of the server. So, you know, started nice and slow by getting a gun and about 100 bullets. Picking off a level 150 wyvern is not half bad. So I went ahead, put my pistol away, and went to rub a little bit of salt in the wound. Look, he's literally flying in the trees looking for me right now. You see that? Come here, dude. Hit me. Oh, yeah. You pulling all that shit out for a naked, bruh? With this done, I repositioned, grabbed some more bullets, and sniped some more of their tames. Now, killing a level 52 parasaur is not like some huge pick, but every second they're spent taming a new parasaur is 1 second they're not spent fucking over the server. Now, since they were basically on high alert now, I had to leave them for a couple hours, after which point they logged off. So I came back with about 10 crossbows and a shit ton of arrows, because at this point using the fucking pistol and bullets was bankrupting me. And with that, I had sniped everything around their base that I could. A good little time waste, so they'd have to go retame all that shit. Now, it also certainly gotten on their nerves, so they were gonna waste even more time looking for my base. Which even if they did find it, it wouldn't matter, because I'd put all my resources into their creatures' skulls. Now that being said, I didn't necessarily want my goblin shack to be found, so I took my RG and hit it up on the volcano, because again, you guys have thermal vision, so you don't want to leave anything living outside your house. And with that, I logged out for the day. Tomorrow would consist of more good deeds, and probably a little bit more fucking with these guys too. Now, unsurprisingly, my Argentavis got fucking massacred, meaning they had come looking for me, but my base itself was a-okay. So I geared up at my base, went out, and tamed another Argentavis. With that safely stashed away, I went to go and try to snipe a couple more tames. So I built this raggedy ass tower to get a better angle and clambered on up. I think they were starting to get a little fed up with me, because at this point they shot me with a tranq dart and knocked me out. Then your boy hopped down from his ivory fucking tower and hand-fed me narcotics for about 20 minutes while he constructed a prison for me. So I woke up handcuffed to a bed in a special metal box that they had constructed just for me, literally to maintain my temperature to make sure I don't freeze or whatever. Now, looking at my physique, they probably thought my body could go a long time without food or water. But what they don't realize is my body's an engine, and one that is incredibly fuel inefficient. So I went and just kind of took a nap and came back, and I had died of dehydration. They had built this big fucking metal box to contain me for an hour and a half. I decided now, however, was a good time to go focus on something else, because they were still under the impression that I was handcuffed in their little ditty room. So I went down south, built a little bit of a stone 2x1. See, I needed to tame a dung beetle so I could start making a bunch of fertilizer to give out to the people on the server. However, these guys only spawn in caves, so it was time to go spelunking. And in this cave, my goblin cosmetic felt like a perfect fit. But of course, I was far from alone down here. What's this guy? This random guy came down to the cave trying to start shit with me, but then he immediately got gooped by a giant centipede, which instantly breaks all of his armor. So get fucked, dude. Oh, and he's trying to put... Oh, he's fucked up. He's fucked up. Asshole. So this guy came down to the cave to fuck with me, instantly got jumped by a bunch of random cave critters, and then as he's slowly crawling away, clinging onto his life, I just split his head open with an axe. Actually, like, lore accurate fucking goblin behavior on my end. So with this guy dead and out of the way, I killed a couple more giant fucking bugs before coming across a giant bug that I actually wanted to see, which is to say the dung beetle, which I then tamed. Now bringing it back up to the outpost I had near the cave, I stored him away. All I needed to do was just literally give him shit, like actual shit as in feces, and he'd create fertilizer, which I could distribute amongst the masses. So with this accomplished, I returned back to what could be considered my main base, which I had actually discovered while I was gone someone had attempted to raid. One more grenade and I would have lost everything to my name. And you know, the craziest thing about it is, I seriously considered not even moving. I'm such a fucking homebody. But at the end of the day, I did make the right call, packed everything up, and moved way further out west. And in this location, I tamed myself another Thylo because just having the jump speed thing is so fucking cool. And then I discovered that I actually had neighbors. This was exciting because so far, looking across the map, I hadn't been able to find a single base that hadn't been raided. The whole map was a graveyard of tribes who had tried to succeed and had been completely wiped out. So my two neighbors were Javi, this solo guy who was living in the woods and he had a good grasp of what he was doing. And nearby to them, in a significantly less hidden base location, was Tribe of Cheese. This was like 3 or 4 guys, but they had no idea what they were doing. So hopefully I'd be able to meet with these guys and help them out a little bit. But as of right now, I need to go up north and get a little bit of oil for crafting. On my way home from the oil run, as I was passing by Cheese's base, I saw that they were under siege by a guy in an RG and 2 pterodons. The only guy from Cheese's tribe that was still opposing them was one guy on a raptor. Although this final defense was valiant, there could be no doubt of the outcome. The base was soon to be overwhelmed, and looking on, I was in no position to help. I wasn't properly geared up for a fight, and I'd be getting into what was basically a 1v3. But I'm not going to leave my boys out to dry. It's time to see what I can do. Come on, Cheese, fucking fight the guy. Every time the Thylo hits an enemy, it inflicts a heavy bleed. If I can do little hit and run tactics on these guys, I might be able to pull through. But I needed to keep moving. If I ever slowed down, they'd all fucking jump me at once. They're trying to single him out. The Argentavis guy was now locked in on pulling me off my mount. If he succeeded, I was good as dead, but this maneuver costs a lot of stamina. If I can manage to just keep dodging him, he'll put himself in a shitty position. He's landing, he's fucking out of stam, what are you doing? Fuck him up, Raptor guy, fuck him up! Cocksucker. He's out of stam again. With the Argentavis now out of stamina, it was good as dead. And with the Argentavis rider now dismounted, he was easy pickings. That Argentavis I just killed was the only thing that I was worried about in this fight. The hunters had become the hunted. Time to maul these last 2 fucking guys. Oh, you all getting eaten today, boys! What are you doing? The last guy fled and hid in the bushes. I killed his pterodon to prevent him from escaping, and then I started looking for him. He's hiding somewhere in here. Yeah, I'm hitting him now. I can hear it. He died to fall damage. Not gonna lie, pretty poor showing from these guys. Honestly, I should have survived that. I should have gotten my shit pushed in pretty quick. But the three of them lay dead as well as their tames. Now, unfortunately, Tribe of Cheese had actually lost their raptor in the scuffle, meaning they were now without tames. So to try to help make up for that, I gave them all of the gear off of the three guys that I killed. I also really quickly bunny hopped over to the southern base, picked up some fertilizer, as well as a short pit stop in the swamp to grab some plant species X seeds and gave them to these guys. If they could plant these and keep them defended for a little bit, they'd grow into an automated defense that would prevent shit like this from happening. And then the guys who attacked Cheese were like, "What are you doing?" in chat, and like, what do you think I was doing? I was defending my fucking boys. So half an hour later, I came back and checked up on the Cheese boys, only to find that they were once again under attack with their base blown open. But the attackers weren't expecting outside help. I could do some serious damage. After killing one of the attacker's PTs, his buddy showed up on an RG. These guys were significantly more competent than the last guys who had attacked. The tricks I'd use on those guys wouldn't work here. Simply put, I was out of my league. There's no way of me killing this guy. But I'm not leaving the Cheese boys out to dry. With the Argentavis being the last tame the attackers had, I came up with a plan. I'd lure it away and keep him distracted, leaving the Cheese boys to stabilize the situation back at their base. So I just ran around for a while and kept this guy distracted. After finally losing him, I returned to Cheese's base and saw that the enemies were no longer abound. Cheese had survived another attack. Now what you might have noticed is the fact that Cheese, in the course of an hour, has been attacked twice. Meanwhile, Javi, who lives about a 30-second run from here, hasn't been attacked even once. And let that be a lesson to everyone who doesn't understand the importance of having a hidden base. Which is not to say that Javi's base is particularly hidden, but even just having a couple layers of trees above your base means you don't get attacked nearly as often. So to help the Cheese boys out, I lavished them with supplies. Realistically, I probably gave them more than they actually lost in the attack. And then I threw some stuff to Javi. He hadn't been attacked or had anything bad happen to him, but I was just in a generous mood. At this point, I saw that the Cheese boys were moving on to a raft, which was probably for the best, and that was the last I ever saw of them. Who knows what future they carved out for themselves on those blue waves. And at this point, I suppose I just became Scrooge from the end of the Christmas Carol, after he gets haunted by all those ghosts. I just started going across the map and giving things out to people. Naked bums on the beach, I gave them metal tools so they could get a start. And for tribes that were more established, I gave them plant species X and fertilizer so they could grow some defenses. Honestly, wisely, people were paranoid at first, but after they got their supplies, they were very grateful. And after all these good deeds, I decided it was time for a little mischief. You see, those assholes living up on the rock had probably forgotten about me by now. They had a greenhouse section of their base, and they weren't only just growing veggies in here, but also plant species Z, which are a crucial weapon to have in fights. This meant that by targeting their garden, not only would I be decimating their fucking food pyramid, I'd also be taking away one of the most important weapons in a PvP fight, at least temporarily. And like a rat noticing a small hole in the foundation of a house, I immediately saw that I could grapple up to it and use it as cover against the turrets protecting it. So time for a bit of a veggie raid. Once inside, I helped myself to a couple hundred veggies, as well as all the fertilizer, and then I left them a parting gift. And with the acts I'd committed against them, hopefully I taught them just a little bit of humility. Next time they see some random guy just walking by minding his own business, maybe they won't jump him, because maybe that guy will be a freak like me, and I'll come back and snipe your shit and blow up your garden and just be annoying for the sake of being annoying. And also, I did just kind of piss them off and annoy them and waste their time, which is always nice to do to these kinds of people. So with this done, I embarked on the Southern Albert construction scheme. Which, I think we need to work on the name for that one a little bit. And this consisted of me going down into the redwoods with my RG, building a farm base, and farming up a shit ton of stone structures. I then took my RG down to the southern reaches of the map and built multiple bridges across a bunch of waterways. The reason I chose this area is because this is like where like all the poor people are, so they don't have like tames. They gotta cross the rivers on foot, which is so funny because this is basically like an economic revival project, but in Ark. A lot of these waterways are also traveled by boats, so I made sure to put this kind of arch that they could go through. And on top of that, I built a crafting station on the end of these as well that was just free for people to use. These bridges would not only save people time, but also there's a lot of piranhas that just sit in these waterways, and as soon as someone hops in, they just swarm you and take off like a good chunk of your health. It becomes almost like a health toll that you have to pay to go across the fucking water. So the idea was these bridges would make it a little bit more tolerable to move around in an area where people have trouble moving around. As I was building this last bridge, I actually got to see the privilege of someone coming across it. This was almost like the perfect setting for some 18th century fairy tale where like someone's trying to go across a bridge and there's a goblin. But trust me, I'm a good goblin, okay? Anyway, I found out these guys lived nearby, so I lavished them with plant species X seeds and fertilizer because remember, after breaking into the garden, I was swimming with the stuff. In fact, after building the bridges, I went out and gave the fertilizer to everybody I could find across the map, taking from the rich, giving to the poor. I'm like goblinhood. And after this, I had done everything I could for the server. I'd removed the nuisances blocking the notes, fucked over the alpha tribe just a little bit, defended the weak cheese boys, and gave out supplies to everybody that I could. I was like Mr. Beast, except I didn't have the most evil people possible on my payroll. There was nothing more for me to do here, but I was far from done. So I packed up my bags and transferred to another server. On this new server, exploring around on my Thylo, I noticed a problem. There was a couple guys in the southern area on pterodons just hunting fresh spawns. Now this is like a time-honored tradition that, like, to be honest, even I've taken part in. But guys, the game is dying, so how about we just don't? Anyway, let's give these guys a taste of their own medicine. Okay. You're really a dumb bastard, aren't you? Yeah, nice gun, dude. It's really gonna save you. Yeah, I have no clue what these guys were thinking. Some hollow-boned, fucking scrawny-ass flying creature versus like a methed up cat. Now the only downside of me killing these guys is that when I killed the second guy, I got infected with swamp fever. I got a fucking BTD, fucking battle transmitted disease. A disease that decimates your health, stamina, and weight. And even death itself will not cure you of it. Using my Thyla, however, it was very easy for me to get an antidote. And while I was at it, I decided to make a couple extras and go across the map giving them out. After curing everybody I could find, I continued exploring and found something horrific. Land that had been claimed by somebody with plant species X. But this wasn't just anybody. This was a guy I've had beef with on and off for more than 5 years. I've never spoken to him, I don't know his name, but I can tell it's him because he's the only person in the world who plays like this. You see, he's like a cancer. He'll always claim this one specific patch of land and build a hidden base within it. And then for the rest of the time that server is up, he will claim more and more land using plant species X because of how cheap they are. And the guy never stops. All he does is farm plant species X and claim as much space as he possibly can. That's why I compare him to a tumor, because he honest to God just grows as large as he can. And in this way, he helps kill off the server. This is the largest extent I've ever personally seen him grow to. If everybody on the server played like this guy, a server would only be able to house about 7 people, all living in their own little bubble that they couldn't ever fucking leave. Again, like an actual tumor, I'd caught him early enough that he hadn't grown to that extent just yet. And this guy's not a benign tumor, he's a malicious one. Because you see, if you claim an area of land, any trees knocked down or rocks mined will not respawn. So therefore, if players see an area with no trees or rocks nearby, they know there's a base there, and they shouldn't go there because some sort of turrets will shoot them. But this guy specifically makes a huge effort to not mine the rocks or stone that won't respawn. That way it looks like it's safe, but as soon as you enter his lands, you just get instantly killed by plant species X. Dude, the funniest part about it is he claims all this land and then he's always just like solo and he never leaves his land. I mean, like, honestly, it's a pretty funny way to play, but also it kills the servers I like playing on so we're getting rid of this fucking guy. The first thing I did was set up a bunch of sleeping bags nearby his base so I could respawn, and I started poking around. This guy is the master of spamming Plant Species X, and I'm the master of getting around and destroying Plant Species X. This is going to be an immovable object meets an unstoppable force type fight. And with the total mass on my character, I could be either of those. So when it comes to Plant Species X, I have this sort of like sixth sense of avoiding them. It's probably the only part of the game I'm like actually good at is this one really autistic niche skill I have. But today, that skill is exactly what I needed. So my autism sense in combination with photo mode allowed me to scout ahead, abuse the fact that he had all these rocks lying around, and get real close to his base. From this, I saw that he had a crafting station as well as a main base, as well as a couple turrets. Now the problem with turrets is, if they can see you, they can hit you. They just don't miss, so there's no rat stratting around them. So now I needed to roleplay Moses. Just like how he'd cleared a path through the Red Sea, I needed to clear a path through this fucking Plant Species X sea. So I started doing suicide runs. As long as I could pick the fertilizer out of the plants before I died, the plant would be dead, and next time I respawned, there'd be one less plant.
Alright, so you're hooked on. Phase Rug, ask the owner.
I was clearing plants out and making good progress towards his actual base. And at this point I hopped in the VC from my Discord and shared my screen to a couple people. Like using a lathe or something. Oh shit, he planted these back. He's on to me, bro.
No. Oh no.
The plants I had already picked were starting to be replanted. Your boy did not want me getting to him. Look, he's right there. He's right there.
Fuck.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
looking for you.
I'm going at him.
Oh, he's right there. Yeah. Dude, he has no armor on. This guy's such a... You knocked him out.
He thought I couldn't get him because he was still in range of other Plant Species X, but my sixth sense told me otherwise. Anyway, I stripped him clean, stashed away the loot, and got back to work. He's right here.
Oh, you could totally get him right there.
Come on,
Wait.
I gotta wait for him to stand still.
Just kind of stood right behind him. I didn't do it.
Get
What the hell? Oh.
Like I went to sleep with one nice punch to the back of the head because he had literally zero food and water. Like you're like 10 feet away from base, dude. Just like grab some meat or something. I don't know. Even though I was able to pretty effectively pick on this guy, this angle of attack that I'd now carved out wasn't going to be feasible now that he realized what we were doing. So I repositioned down south to attack from a different angle. However, I waited quite a while. This meant not only would he waste all of his time reinforcing an area I wasn't going to attack anymore, but he would also put his guard down. At the south, I found this sort of tunnel made out of rocks where if I cleared a couple plants in the middle, the rocks would protect me from the left and right. So I got to work. Having cleared out the inside of this tunnel, I can now get a lot closer to his base. However, these rocks didn't extend all the way to his actual base. Scouting out at the end using photo mode, I was able to see that there was this final stretch that was like a minefield. And worst of all, I couldn't pick these plants because they were covered by a turret. So I decided it was time to cut the difference. I threw on a set of flak, grabbed some C4, and went for it. Out of C4 and with my armor now broken, I killed myself and came back with more supplies. But something must have gone horribly wrong in this process because my face became majorly deformed. So I evolved from Goblin Bert to Lovecraftian Horror Bert. Now inside the base, I was like in the eye of the hurricane. If I went outside, I'd get mowed down instantly. But in here, I was safe. Now I was fucked. I was practically stuck inside his base, and he was on the outside. Meaning he could just run off, grab some gear, and run me out of here.
Oh.
Or maybe he'll just come in here naked with nothing but cooked meat and a shovel in his inventory. Now I'm starting to understand why this guy never leaves his fucking plant species X range. What was the play, dude? You knew I was in here. But this was actually perfect. He wasn't dead. I'd knocked him out with a tranq arrow. And like some sort of a drug kingpin, this guy had an excessive amount of narcotics in his base. So by feeding these to him, I can just keep him perpetually knocked out, and I can take as long as I need inside his base. But I'm also in a predicament. While the supply of narcotics from his base is near endless, you have to feed him every 2 minutes to keep him asleep. So if I go to take loot out, he's gonna wake up. At this point, I realized I needed help. So I called upon the Gooper Hordes by firing up a live stream called I'm nuts deep in a base and need help. So if you guys ever want to answer a call for help like that, follow the Twitch down in the description. Anyway, with some eyes now on me, I gave out the server coordinates and had to give them directions on how to get inside the base because I'd only cleared out this very one specific path. Now realistically, I probably only need like 1 or 2 people to show up, but the freaks just started swarming in, each one more deformed than the next. And before long, we were kind of just having a party in this guy's raided base as he was sleeping on the floor. Now, if you remember, there was these cosmetic mods I talked about that could be used on any server, and how some of them were made using one hand, if you catch what I mean. Yeah, one of the goopers just started handing these out, and, you know, not to be like a prude or whatever, I guess there's a time and a place for a fucking Brazilian butt lift Spider-Woman mod, but I'm not really sure if Ark is that time and place. Keep in mind, you can use these on like literally any server, and when you equip the skin, it makes your ass bigger and gives it jiggle physics. Could you imagine the stench inside the room of the guy who made this mod? Yeah, this is Ark in 2024, guys. Do you remember when this game was like fun and wasn't just being stuffed full of like really stupid shit? At any rate, with everybody here now freaked up, with photo mode, I saw that we were near their crafting station and that he had a lot of metal there. However, there were turrets guarding this, but for whatever reason, this guy decided to not cover up the generator. So all we had to do was run up and switch it off. You know, some people might die, but that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make.
Oh shit!
You got it off, what can I say?
There's more! There's more!
Get the fuck down! We're fucking heroes, man! We did it!
Now what?
This is probably the end of the line for you. Me, I got a life to live.
So we made multiple trips transporting the 3,000 metal from his crafting station back into his base. So we became sort of a work crew. But eventually we got it all inside. And upon discovering a big stash of gunpowder and cementing paste, we were in the money. I turned this into a bunch of guns, bullets, and metal structures that I would soon give out to the people. Could you imagine being the owner of this base? You're sitting on the floor unconscious, getting hand-fed narcotics, while a bunch of freaks pick the bones cleaning your base? I'd feel bad, but this guy, and this guy specifically, completely deserves everything he's getting. Now just as we were packing up and getting ready to head out, I decided to kind of move him around a little bit. And
What the fuck? Open doors when he's asleep?
And that's when I discovered he had auto open on his doors. And just as a final humiliation, his body could be used like a key card. So I literally dragged him around like the scene from a movie where the bad guy uses the fucking guard's hand to unlock the doors. And I got into the sections of the base we hadn't blown into. So we were able to pick him completely clean. And all the freaks made a clean getaway. So with this deed now done, I hopped off the stream and I was once again alone. The metal structures I'd crafted had been crafted in the exact ratio to provide a bunch of starter bases to people. A simple 2x1 that could fit all the necessities needed, and since it was made out of metal, be decently sturdy. Even if someone already had a base, the metal 2x1 could act as a decent armored core to keep their loot inside of. On top of that, the simple pistol and bullets. You know, for shooting things. So I went to give out this fairly generous gift.
What the fuck?
Relax, I whistled past it. Take it easy. I come bearing gifts for you, my friend. No, dude, you're all good. If fucking a fucking goblin creature. If you want, I can go and get a swamp fever cure for you in like 5 minutes. That would be awesome. Okay, give me a little bit. Hi, mate. I get my appearances a little scary, but I come bearing gifts.
And on this day, a great many souls were visited by the backflipping goblin who gave out gifts. And with that, I felt like my job here was done. I had done everything I could to help out those on the server and make this intolerable game just a little bit better. Thank you to Jimmy for first off making the goblin skin, but second off proof watching this video for me because I had an ear infection and I still can't hear so good. Yay! And then of course, thank you to my YouTube members. Thank you for bearing through with my illnesses. Special thank you to Platypus Advisor and Heath Dion at the Big Fella tier. And then of course, thank you for watching, because that's kind of the whole point of putting this out here.